네.
Oh,
어,
All in the
네.
house.
러시들의 캐모라
Tashile.
러시들아
Khenmo,
라소
your camera is sideways.
네.
Oh,
어,
Like
어야.
oh, other way, other way.
other way. Okay.
There. Good.
Okay,
Like that.
the YouTube recording
어,
start, and I'm gonna let everybody in.
Okay.
오케이. 땡큐. 라소 투지시 캐모라.
Yalla tijuna katinje. Gozuna
투지시
digirwala.
디네 콩세라 nga tada delayo chilila yo ngi lende yakko midu nga tizoji
Las
캐모 마숭바 말라 조라 ngoto지 치고
las tijuna.
디네 캐모치 nga tada chilila yote lende yakko 사와네 미두
Las.
라소 야야 디네 ngazo 데까지 제일 셰쳐
Las.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monday meditation. This night is very special. We have KhenmoLa with us again, back by popular demand, to bring us through the teaching of the absence of I. I'm still letting everybody into the waiting room, so give us a little bit. We'll have a few instructions in the beginning that we ask everybody to adhere to because we're doing translations rooms, and so it gets a little tricky. So, but we'll go over the rules or the idea in the beginning so everybody can be up to date and there's no confusion. I'd say give me about 2-3 minutes just to make sure everybody makes it into the room, and then I will go over those stipulations. Kellen, I got a question.
Mhm.
Is Lama doing the Portuguese?
No.
All right. Got a crowded room tonight.
Okay, so I can go ahead and start sharing just a little bit and say hello to everybody. And I'm going to share a couple of logistics, and then Lama wants to come in and say something as well. So, muchas gracias. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here tonight. Confirm your speaking language. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Correctly, right? Okay.
Yeah, just
Okay.
English.
Okay, so yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here for Meditation Monday. We're so happy to have KhenmoLa join us again. And Lama Dorje is here as well to give KhenmoLa a welcome. And we also want to send a big welcome to Adam Kane, who's lovingly offering his time today for translating from Tibetan to English so that we can hear KhenmoLa's full teaching. And so, KhenmoLa, we're so grateful that you're joining with us again. And for any of you whose first time it is, KhenmoLa joined us about a month ago after we asked His Holiness Chetson Rinpoche to please recommend a nun of the Drikung Kagyu lineage to teach us because we felt really inspired to have female teachers. And his very first thought was, please contact Khenmo Jokar. And so we're so excited and so honored that she's been able to teach us twice now, and we would love and feel so inspired to continue to have and host her here, and so grateful for all of the times that she spent in studies of the Dharma to be able to share this with us. And we're also so grateful for Adam, who spent so many years learning Tibetan. That's not an easy thing, to be able to go from Tibetan to English so that we can really get the full essence of these teachings. And so today we're going to be sharing a teaching on the absence of I. And the absence of I, as Lama's going to share with us in a minute, we've all been learning over the weeks Tonglen practice together. We've been studying compassion and Tonglen, and this kind of concept naturally brings us over to the concept of the absence of I, because we enter R. We are interbeing together all as an interconnected community. And it's so essential that we practice compassion because of this concept of emptiness and because of this concept of the absence of I. And so I'm sure that KhenmoLa is going to share some really beautiful teachings about that today. And before I jump into some more information, I'll repeat what I said in Spanish. Just want to tell you how to get into the translation rooms. So if you're an English speaker, you can stay in the main room, or you can choose the Jeffrey, did you already activate the translation?
Not yet.
Okay. So probably go ahead and do that in just a moment. So in just a moment, you're gonna see a little globe on the bottom of your on the bottom of your screen. So if you're an English speaker, you can stay in the main room or click English. And if you're a Spanish speaker, you're gonna click Spanish, and Eric's gonna be your translator today. Unfortunately, I don't think our Portuguese translator is here. So if you're a Portuguese speaker, please choose whether you want to be in English or Spanish today. I'm so sorry about that, but it seems that Talita might be out of signal today. I'm so sorry about that. So muchas gracias para todos para estar aquí hoy. Estamos muy animados para estar acá con KhenmoLa. Y bueno, estamos agradecidos que ella recibió nuestros requests como suplicación para una nueva enseñanza. Y para los que nunca estaban aquí antes con KhenmoLa, ella está en India ahorita. Actualmente hoy está en Nepal. Y ella es una monja de nuestros linajes Drikonkaikyuu. Y hemos preguntado a nuestros maestros de linaje, su santidad Chetan Rinpoche, por favor, que nos mande una monja. Y su primera recomendación era Khenmo Drokar. Entonces estamos muy agradecidos que ella está aquí hoy con nosotros. Y bueno, hoy vamos a hacer. También Adam está traduciendo para nosotros hoy día para que KhenmoLa pueda hablar directamente en tibetano. Entonces agradecemos él por todos sus años de estudio y todo su tiempo que está para que realmente entendimos las enseñanzas profundamente hoy. Y bueno, hoy es un poco diferente, vamos a tener varios idiomas y si eres una persona que habla en inglés, vas a quedar en el cuarto principal. Si eres una persona que habla español, en un ratito vamos a tener un botón en la mano derecha abajo en tu pantalla y este botón vas a usar para interpretación y vas a ir en el cuarto de español. Entonces, eso, Eric va a estar su traductor hoy. Y primero, antes de entrar a esto, Lama Dorje quiere darnos un mensaje. So before we enter our translation rooms, Lama Dorje would love to share a quick message with us. Lama?
Ok, yo hablo en español directo, ¿cierto?
Sí, está bien, Lama.
¿Alguien traducir o cómo?
Yo voy a traducirte ahorita y después vamos a entrar a los cuartos después.
Ok, maravilloso. Ok, mucha alegría, mucha felicidad. Yo estoy en Chile, ya recién terminando un retiro maravilloso en su home.
And so I just want to extend my gratitude to everybody. I'm so happy to be here. Right now, I'm just finishing up a retreat in Chile in Surya Home. Lama?
Y también damos bienvenido mucho para la KhenmoLa. Ella es una de las maestras nocturnas.
And also, I just want to extend a really
Escuchando.
see. Now, I just want to extend a really big welcome. Jeff, are you on your phone? Just want to extend a very big welcome to KhenmoLa as well.
Okay.
She's a great maestra and a great teacher of our lineage.
Y es entonces muy honor para recibir para nuestra comunidad, nuestras sanghas, ella.
And so it's such an honor to receive KhenmoLa in our Sangha today.
Y compartir su sabiduría, sus conocimientos.
And for her to share her wisdom and insights with us today.
Entonces, gracias, hermano Otrom. a Tom, ¿cierto?
Sí, Adam.
Y él, gracias por traducir sus tiempos.
And I also want to thank Adam for his time for translating today.
Entonces, hoy tema ese como yo le he elegido porque nosotros practicamos hace tiempo, ya casi un año y está practicando meditación del amor y compasión. Eso significa nosotros trabajando como nosotros aprendiendo de yo, como desapegarse.
And so for this past year, we've been learning together about love and compassion in this practice of Tonglen. We've been learning about letting go of self-grasping.
Entonces, eso hoy día yo no nací de la ahora tengo a hablar, voy a digar con la tiempo con ella y ustedes escuchar como defecto de defecto de como la afirmamiento de yo y beneficio de ausencia de yo, ¿no?
And so I won't take up too much time. I'd like to pass to KhenmoLa, but I'm so excited that each of you get to learn about the defects of this self-grasping and also the benefits of letting go of this self-grasping.
Ok, entonces mucha bendición, mucho cariño.
Lama, ¿tú quieres hacer el rezo para nosotros, the opening prayer?
No necesario ahora.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Porque tiempo no tiempo.
Okay. Gracias, Lama.
All right.
Ok, un abrazo, bendiciones.
Gracias. So he said many blessings to each of you.
Ya, listo.
Okay. Jeffrey, want to do the interpretation now?
Yeah.
Entonces, cada uno que está en español, ahora vas a hacer clic cuando llega en su pantalla y puedes entrar lo de español, si quieres escuchar en español. Ahora ven, aquí hay un globo, aquí en el parte de abajo, un globo, y ese globo puedes elegir el idioma. Perfecto. Okay, Kimojoko, we're ready. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You're welcome. Hello, everyone. Good evening. May I do my prayer? Opening prayer? Điều mi cho yên nghe bờ ra nè, tôi sống sang nhiều quân nhiều ngồi nhẹ, ra xem chú có một số tuần về làm mấy trong đó của cha, bảo bảo biết là tôi nghe nhẹ cho là cho yên cho yên điều đã sẽ yêu là số yên cho chuyên nhân làm đó của cha, số nữ của lo cha bảo, số đời người làm được, chỉ đến điểm mình sẽ hoàn chẳng bé yang là của cha, nam khá đại nhân bé sinh chân tham chế nam gì sang yêu của bạn tôi bảo cha vô nhân bé. Tuye samba chanchu chodo simke ni simbar shu. Ta kansi simbar chebi chode tarin dame ko la re la.
So please begin by forming the altruistic motivation of bodhicitta, bringing to mind all mother beings equal to the vast reaches of space, and the intention and wish to establish all of them without exception in the state of complete awakening. And in that spirit, please listen to the teachings. And so the topic for today will be the topic of the absence of self.
Ta dame ko la sung da samla chi ta dame. Tang dame ding ote chora la.
So the main topic for today is the absence of the sense of self or selflessness. So we should introduce what it means, the absence of the sense of self.
Chi ta nga zo nang be cholo la ta. Dame sung da zambala ani rikbe che ba dang ani ma che ba chi ten tango la sung yu do ani ma che ba chi ten tango la dame sung yo ma re. Ta rikbe che sing che yu do zambala ani shine ani dame la ne sung ye ge sung cho je yo re.
So in general, in the Buddha's teachings, Gonda, nga ki chiko sumason,
Chitan dagme sung ye tata dagme la ni sung do a. Dagme la de zambala chitan jikten ge tango la. Chitan jikten ba din zola dagme la ni sung yo ma re. Din dagme la ni de khande chi ni sung yo re la na nga zo da 둠다마와 시요라 콩남바기 릭베기 아주 시랍 릭바요라
맞아.
디딱지 제바 체네 레레 제바 체네 아니 타마데라 아니 릭베기 용도 잠로 dak메바레 라니 딱샤바레 마도 엔지 데마딘졸라 dak메라니 소요 마레스
Oh, that's so.
어
That's so. So basically, this topic, the absence of the self, this is not something that is found in worldly doctrines. Worldly people don't proclaim or teach the absence of self. This is a perspective that is found, for example, in the Chedramawa or the Vaibhashika school of the Buddhists. And what they did is they actually used the reasoning, they used their intelligence to examine and explore, to try to find what is the sense of self. When they did not find it, then they came to the conclusion, oh, there is no self actually. And then they offer the doctrine of the absence of self. So this is found in the Buddhist tradition, but not found in worldly or non-Buddhist traditions.
제장 다 리베마 제병을라다 dak메라네 아미드 켄자 삼기로가 통계도 나 요리 이나가 요 말이나 가래라 그래디 켄자보도 삼기로와
So, if we don't examine, though, if we don't actually analyze and use reasoning, then it's kind of a crazy thing to say that there's the absence of self. It just makes no sense. Of course there's me. I'm here. Of course. What are you talking about? There's no self. It seems like a crazy thing to say if we don't actually analyze and explore.
이나양 당한 저기 릭베게 제송나 아니 나라이디 라기레벨라나 라기 말에 베나 베차샤바이나 나란도 스스스 볼었다 nga lakparebe yananga ngorebe yananga migrebe yananga narebe azurere rede cheba chiungdo ta nga laidi ragi mare songchang dile dakme bas.
However, if we look for the self, then we actually examine it and explore, we can't find it. We can't find it if we actually go and look for it and try to analyze. For example, when we explore this body, can we really say that my head is me? Do we say that my hand is me? Do we say that my eye is me? Difficult to say that, isn't it?
Songzang dakme lai thandadi ngoini meba lai ngoini meba.
Nasula. So when we say the term the absence of the sense of self, that also means it doesn't have its own essence. It doesn't have its own essential identity.
Ta ngoini meba lana kandesula gyori. Ta ngoini meba di zo da chomin mahimba ki ngobo yo mares. Yang na shen la rak male begi ngobo yori yo marilana yo mares. Sama shen la rak lebe ngobo tendeli imba chik chik la tene dubyo ba. Pena nga zola kangba lakba go nik sama chur zombege chokba la tene ani nga la iti dubyo ba. Kesi dizo meba ina nga la iti yori velana yo mares.
Asula. So what does it mean to say something lacks its own inherent existence or its own inherent identity? What does it mean to say that? It means when we use our reasoning, when we use our intelligence to look at it, that it doesn't exist independently. It doesn't just exist like an independent thing, but also it doesn't exist depending on something else. So everything, we can say all phenomena depend on other things for their appearance. And this is the principle of tendril, or interdependence. Everything depends or relies on other things to appear. But in this case, we cannot even say that the self exists by relying on other things. We cannot even say that because, we cannot say, oh, depending on my hand, or depending on my leg, or depending on my eye, or my head, or something, then there is a self. We cannot even say that. And so by not finding what it relies on, we cannot then establish that the self exists either.
송장 다 낙메라 지당 남유 우메게 슝든 전에 송서대 바이나 에와니 샤게레 간사기 당메당 아니 저기 당메라니 에와니 샤게레.
So then this topic of the absence of the sense of self. So if we explore the traditional texts, the Madhyamaka texts, middle way texts about this, then there's two fundamental categories. There's the absence of the personal sense of self and the absence of the inherent identity of phenomena.
아니 다저데 아니 리베제바 친구 잠바라 아니 강사게 다음에 챙긴다 보데 아니 강사당 초니스 제베 아니 강사 덴버만도 바젤라 아니 강사게 다음에 라요남요 아니 초예 다음에디 초당 강사 니스 제베 에와 제베 나네 아니 초탐제 덴버만도 발라 아니 초예 다음에 라게오레스.
And so when we use reasoning or logic, then there's these two dimensions, the absence of the personal sense of self and the absence of the inherent identity of different phenomena. And so when we compare the sense of self with true reality, and we see that this personal sense of self is not actually inherently existing, that is an expression of the absence of the personal sense of self. And when it comes to the absence of the identity of phenomena, then we can compare the identity of phenomena with a personal sense of self. And seeing that the inherent identity of phenomena doesn't truly exist on its own independently is talking about the absence of the self of phenomena.
디 남네 양조 다 강사게 다 덴버 마트바레 송송 아니 저게 다양 덴버 마트바레 데 수행게 다조 아니 좀 다나니 다 약쇼데 우마기 뚝다지 우메 뚝테나니 다 텔려버딘 저게 아니 강사게 다면 덴버 마트바데 조 싱다 남등 일이 베게 토냐니 덴버 마트바도 아니 저게 다메디 아니 저 가리세고라다 아니 가리세고 다시 깨고게 더네 아니 데모르 마트바토 요레스 다 이나얀디 창마세나 아니 하장이 니제 토부 인장 아니 공남백이 로라 주투베 갈리 카고레 다 딜레 다이니 공라 슈바낭신제 수수기 수베강라 자니 셰베이나 아니 콘좀 고츠야라 답데보다 레라보 아니 수승이 레츠에게 낭네 베조다야라 양 답데베 김선라데니 아니 레라베 토디마슈기 인스
La sola. La sola. Gonda chigi dagmegi
저기 다음에디 저다 덴바르 마트바 저담지 저당 가성이 소제베 저담지 덴바르요 마리스 슈로아 다디 도자말라 단 덴바르 마트베리 바디 카레고네 마텐 라파비오레 슈바이나 아니 타시게 거기 전에 달레게 바마인 셴레게 바마인 니가레게 바마인 아니 규메레게 바마인 라니 텐샤요레스
la regla taxi digo la so basically the key point here is that the personal sense of self is not a concrete thing. it's not a truly real and concrete thing. Likewise, the independent, inherent existence of phenomena is not a concrete thing. It's not a real and truly existing thing. So that's the key point here. Things are not concrete and real as we imagine them to be. And so there's a variety of philosophical schools in the Buddhist tradition. And the most sophisticated one in establishing this absence of concrete existence and identity is the Madhyamaka or middle way philosophy. And specifically in that, the 10 the Teljurpa school, the consequentialist school of the middle way philosophical system. And basically, in it, the most kind of essential logic that they employ to show the absence of the personal self is the logic of the chariot, using the analogy of the chariot. And in terms of the absence of inherent existence of phenomena, the most important reasoning that they use to establish the absence of inherent existence in phenomena is called refuting how things are born or created. And so for KhenmoLa gave clarification on this. So for example, that means something is not born from itself, but something also isn't actually born from something totally separate from it, nor is it born from both or neither. And so the not being born from those in those ways is that logic. So these are quite complex and actually difficult reasonings in the beginning of our studies. And so I think it is more accessible and beneficial to relate to this teaching by applying it to our own body, first of all. And then it will be quite convenient and quite accessible for us. Our own life as well, our own body and our own life. So for that reason, that's the approach I will take in this teaching.
Yes. That's something to tap devodan lelabe tonishora. Ani chitangi nega gimchinyo yo. Ta konzola jiksheba inabe lamsang gotu ni. Ani susuni retswa nala. Ta pecho tanyage chedo. Lelabe tonisheba ina. Tini tayi gong la shiba nangshin. And susu subogang la samlo tani ani jeba chena til susuranga zo sherab yora. Sherab yodo zamala ni ngarang susu takje che. Redo mirno. Azang nga zo la sherab yoza ani ngarang susu jeba chichora. Hinji meji mi sheba changma denba res. Changma chigwa yo mara. Tini zamala susu jeba chen yinsani. Ta jeba che la tab debo yungi che do ani peda toni ga lela ve toni she yins.
Lasala. Lasala. Pipsi abudo. So I think this should be something that's like accessible, easy, enjoyable, actually, and something that we can all understand easily. And so for that reason, in order that it's easy and friendly for us to engage in this, I think we will examine first and foremost our own body. And we have the right to examine our own body because we have intelligence, we have prajna, we have this insight inside of us, this intelligence, and we can use it to explore and to analyze. We have this intelligence, let's use it to analyze our own body. And when we use our intelligence in that way, we can come to see it is a certain way or it's not. It's like this, or it's not like this. We can arrive at that using our own reasoning or intelligence. This is the capacity of our own prajna, or intelligence or insight. And so that's what we're going to rely on, is our own reasoning. It's not that you have to believe something because I say it's true. I'm saying it's like this, and so you have to accept that. It's not like that. We should rely on our own reasoning and our own exploration to come to our own conclusion. And so using example and also using the meaning of the example, then that's how we can continue.
Tindoda thangba zo samlo ji tangbaina pecha chana nga zui suboji la samlo tangbaina thai gong la shiwa nangsing mik nga rebe na nga rebe che nga rebe yang na lakpa nga rebe kesi lakpa nga yin sung na ani nga nyi thamba chato gore kesi kangba nga yin na nga yang nyi thamba chato gore sung zang nga re do mi do thangba wa se cheba chi gore kesi min do na ta nga lai di dok mi do tanga mes dak me lai de demba re do mi do ani nga chai samlo nangla samlo tai chi le gi res
Nasala. So first of all, the first sort of investigation that we'll do, what I'd like us to think about is starting with our own body again. And so, as we said before, is this sense of self my eyes? Is this sense of self my nose? Is this sense of self my tongue? Is the sense of self my hands? Because if it's my hands, then I already have two selves. And if it's my feet, well, then there's two more selves. So if we say it is, then we have all these selves. If we say it's not, all of these things are not the self, then does that mean that the sense of self is not there? Or not? Does that mean that the principle of the absence of a concrete self is true, or is it not true? And so like this, we can investigate.
yang ngan che ke se lakba kangba me be nga ji yo re be yang de samlo tang gore ta ke se lakba kangba ni de nga yin su na nga ni cha sa ta ke se yang nga zo lakba kangba khini me ba ina go me ba ina tra me ba ina mik me ba ina che me ba ina yang nga lai de yung gore be yang de samlo tang gore ti do jambala nga samlo ya ko dang na chama tenjeli ba chik chik la ten yo ba gigen chokba sur zo ma jela teni nga lai che duk yo ba kesi dinjo chokpa me ba ina nga lai de yuya khora me ba ta anzugi shiragi jeba che gores teni ani susugi phagi ngone ge sangge gi sungba nangshin ani ta bhavam ludu la sobagi ani umeshung la sungba nangshin ani demba imba de ngara su susugi ani susu la rato chitu gi res
Dendrupti sususula
susu se hago gori susu se hago susu jeba china susu hago gorala
Nasa. Nasa. So also then we can ask another question. So if is there some kind of self separate from our hands and legs? If we had no hands and legs, would there be a sense of self somewhere? Is there a sense of self existing separate from these limbs and this body? We can ask that question. We can also ask, if there was we had no head, if we had no eyes, if we had no tongue, would there still be a self here? So we should think about that. This is something we should explore and examine. And when we do think about this, we can start to see that everything just appears because of other things. Everything is dependent on some other thing. A gathering of things produces something. And so only when a gathering of causes and conditions comes together, then do we see something, or do we experience something. And so even the sense of self that we have is just a gathering of various conditions. And when those conditions are not all gathered, the sense of self does not appear. And so this is starting to use our prajna, or our insight or intelligence. And so as the Buddha said, and as the great Madhyamaka masters said, like Nagarjuna, if there were something that were truly existent, independently and truly existent, we should be able to understand it. We should be able to find it. We should understand what is there based on our own exploration.
Yang ngồi tiếng này sẽ vậy na ngã lại đi đắc lại đi mẹ bà cái gì nó ngồi yo maris cái gì nó ngồi yo maris ngồi bơi yo na rangi ngồi tiếng này được yo gores cho mình chỉ yo gores zuma mà im bạch sen là mà tem bạch ta sen là mà tem bạch yo na rangi ngồi như là yo baris sen là tên này duba cho mà im bạch zuma im bạch insu na 아니 랑기 ngoñinda yoba revelana mares songsan tagi dagme lado rangi ngoñi meba lani she gimchenso di deres.
Asala. So, so we can see that it is only through tendro, through interdependence, that even the sense of self could appear. Or we could say, because of that, then the self doesn't truly exist. Because when we say something doesn't truly exist, we're saying that it doesn't have an independent essence of its own. Why do we say that? What does it mean to say something lacks an independent essence of its own? If something has an independent essence of its own, that should be totally natural. It should be like unfabricated. It shouldn't be false. It shouldn't need to rely on anything else. That's what it means to have an independent, inherent existence of its own, is that it doesn't really need anything else to exist. And so to say that I, the self, has its own independent essence, it would need to fulfill these qualities. It would need to display these qualities. And if it did not have those qualities, then that's the main reason, lacking those qualities, that we say that the sense of self doesn't have its own true independent essence.
동상당한 저대서 참말라 삼로 땅니 nga lai de yore yo mares so samlo ya potang da kebo tamba ani sangye da ani gombolu du khona me da nga lai de yo mares songsan de la ani chakwa che ya da 아니 딜라 시당 콘도게야당 아니 딜라 나라 녜라 냐기 수페 개첨보이스 나 야포요고스 나 지포요고스 아니 나라 리가 야포고스 나라 미스타메 구샵체고스 라니다 수수 마리엘 아니 착바시고조라 착바 낸다나시 녜기 파마라 지징고요스 아니 녜 punchela 지지고요스 녜 룽발라 야포고요스 야포용고요스 Nani kiran so ya ko machina jigi mes namdun zamling na la machin shoya da sam da kare la tene chigyo ra na dagzin de la tene chigyo ra o te sonza da sange gi dagzin chigyo mares dagzin che na pendo yo mare nais na da koro me bala ani dagzin che de bai na pendo me bares sonzang dagzin gi nyem bodi dagme res
Las- Mama. So, given all of that, then leads us to the question: this sense of self, is it there or not? That's the question. And so, the sublime beings who have existed before. So, for example, the Buddha and the other great beings such as Nagarjuna and so on, they said that it does not exist. And so then we can consider, like the issue of attachment, attachment and grasping. We can consider the issue of anger, aversion, and hatred. And so, we can think about it in terms of like, I'm the sense of, I'm important, my stuff is important. For me, I want what's good. I want to be good. I want to be, I want to look good. I want, good things to happen to me. I want people to respect me. This is all attachment to the sense of self. I need good things for my parents, my family, my country. If you do anything bad to those things, then I'm against you. Look at all the conflict in the world. Look at all the war in the world. We really trace it down to its root. Its root is self-grasping. So the Buddha said, don't engage in self-grasping. Why? Because there's no benefit. It doesn't bring benefit. And so seeing the absence of the benefit of holding and following after self-grasping, seeing it does the lack of benefit, then yeah, and we can say that the antidote to self-grasping is the wisdom of the absence of self.
송장다 계세 다진체 나 니 랍나 아니 안속에 무슨일에 소환나라 스스냠님이 돈이 셰바이나 아니 스스라 견요바 닌가요바 야나 스스라 펜도 가양네바 나랑 스스스 하고 그요 걸치니 라바이나 가드리는 나나 니 랍데바이나 친추네 셰베나 콜라 저고라기 말이 아니 김재냠도 덤보 자기 말이 아니 대가랑 망신게 알레 당보 스스 낭미냠도 참기 말이 대당한자다 스스스스기 뭐스 미기 통말와 뭐스 용화라와 니레 초에 나는 스스 용거요라 딘더기 있다 견마도 펜도 다임데 가용 요 말이에스
Rela, lasana. So then this self-grasping self-cherishing and self-grasping, me, my. This is something we can see in our own direct experience. We all have our own personal and direct experience of this. And if we look at our own experience, we can see plainly the faults that come from our own self-grasping and self-cherishing. We can see that it does not bring benefit. This is something we know for ourselves. We know from within our own experience. Me, this kind of self-cherishing, if we have it as a small child, to the degree that we have it as a small child, what happens? We don't get that many friends. What happens within our family system? There's not such closeness with people when we have so much self-cherishing. And then if we create a family, the family isn't very harmonious. So this is something we all know. This is our direct experience we have in our own life. And so we can see by examining our own life and our own direct experience that only faults really come from that self-cherishing and self-grasping. Benefit doesn't really come from it.
Kese daksin chebe na nga zolo kyon mata yunte kayang mezang ani di pangcha yinba. Di jesu nga zoge daksin cheje di jesu jukpa ina nga zolo pendo kayang meba. Tadun dikpa mato gewa kayang meba. Ini kese dikpa chebe ina di debu kare dungal. Ani gewa chebe ina di debu kare dewa. Kaisina nga zo sangmala kare goguyo re, dewa goguyo re, dungal goguyo mare. 다디 도자말라 계시 대화구나 아니 다진치야 다진치나 공도 시당 참아 중요하게 자와다 우리 아니 다진차게 요레스 성성 다진 방고레스
So, and so the main reason for us to want to overcome this self-cherishing and self-grasping is that if we really look at it, what comes from it, it's all faults. Good qualities don't really come from it. And so understanding that, seeing that, we see that our self-cherishing and self-grasping, self-centeredness is something that we can let go of, that it is something to try to give up. And so to the degree that we can give up our self-grasping, there's only benefit. The less self-cherishing we have, the more benefit comes. And the self-grasping, self-cherishing we do have is basically like it's a negativity. It's not a virtue. And as we know, negativity just results in more pain. And virtue brings more and more happiness. And so what do we all want? We all want to be happy. We all want to suffer less. And so if happiness is what we really want, then giving up our self-cherishing is the best way to achieve what we want. Because from self-cherishing and self-centeredness comes anger and jealousy, and all of the afflictive emotions are all rooted in that. And therefore, self-cherishing is something to let go of.
강사기 다진다 아니 저기 다진데 방차리 아니 강사기 당매당 아니 저기 당매디 대녀버리 아니 강사기 다진데 다소 가르라데네 중요리 그런 중요하게 기겐데 좀 말이 발레데네 중요라 말이 봐 녀몬베기 시원하게 교네 아니 맞어라 강사기 다진데 연구요리 당아서 상계게 철록이 승당된더래다. 디도 잠발아줘 안서다 마리바방와이나 아니 당신데 방토리오레 승요라다 디도 잠발아 다다되는 게 있어야 돼. nga zhe ni re choya nang la ana zhe yi choji bu nin ani de de ba ina kali kha go re ta su su gang nim ba di su su ha ko ba di su su she ba di ani ni re choya nang la ni su su nyam len che tob na pe cho tang tob na tene ya bo yo re es
Asana. Rela. So for these reasons, these two kinds of self-grasping, or we could say reification, concretizing things as real, this sense of personal self and the concreteness of phenomena. So for all of these reasons, those two things are things we need to let go of. And the antidote of self-grasping, concretizing, is seeing the absence of it. That's the antidote. And so the source of self-grasping is said to be ignorance. And so when there's ignorance, there's self-grasping, and when there's self-grasping to this personal sense of self, all of the kleshas, or the afflictive emotions, come from that. So this is the perspective of the Buddhist religion, Buddhist spiritual tradition. And so if we can overcome our ignorance, then we can overcome our self-cherishing and self-grasping. Now, of course, it's difficult we talk about our life, to live our whole life like sort of just according to, only doing Dharma practice. That's, of course, difficult. We have to apply these things in our daily life, in our heart, in our mind. It has to be applicable to our life, to our daily life. And so in our life, we have to find a way to use our practice in our life.
알았어. 데리다 주저디양 신조 도디는 잠바라 데스타양 네가 개천버디 쇼라야 아니 저 상계기 철로낭라 다메니 라이데 상계 수행 김천조디야 타기 보는 쇼가 다가랑레 아니 라파도 다 뉴집다 시집나니 니레기라다 중공디 말이 바인도 잠바라 안디 말이 바코랑나양 아니 지당의 장례대 바레데 임바이나 이저 더더니 셰바이나 뉴집 시집 라이라 아니 뉴집데 빵바이나 아니 강사기 다음에 똑토기레스 다 시집데 빵바이나 저기 다음에 똑토기레라는 순교라 달랍도 잠발라 간다르 가리시나 마시나 저런 주인이래 저하는랑 저 배저다이나 답되고지 셰바이나 저디 아니 니레링이 소선도 자시당 공로라이디 뉴뉴다야 다 당보 nga 라이디 제바지치 계시 nga 라이디 메도 잠발라 아니 nga 라테니 공로 사연니바 nga 라테니 도저 지교메바 nga 라테니 티모왕도 소야메바 다디 노 잠발라 디서 참마랑 신기 마도바레도 수수스게 삼로 땅제 수수수스게 지달랑아서 다 미펠바지 베차네 난도자 셰당 공로도 요요 버와 이나양 강투투 스스게 뉴뉴 서바이다 아니 네갑라이 핀도 요레 타르툴라양 요요 버와 디시 삼로 땅거레스
Rela. So I know it's late and maybe you're getting tired, so we have to give I want to give the key points here. What are the essential points here? So the Buddha, the awakened ones, teach about the two kinds of selflessness, or the two absences of self. And if we look deeper underneath that, we can talk about also the two types of obscurations. We can call these the emotional obscuration and the cognitive obscuration. These two obscurations are what we mean by ignorance. And so it is said that because of the basically, if we can remove our emotional obscurations, then we can arrive at the absence of the personal self. We can see that absence of the concreteness of that. And if we can remove the cognitive obscurations, we can see the absence of concreteness in phenomena. And so that's the principle. And more applicable to our own life, is if we can just reduce our klesha, so we can just reduce our afflictive, destructive emotions, anger, attachment, pride, jealousy, and so on. That's a huge benefit to us. And so we can explore this sense of self, look for it, like investigate it, analyze it. And if we can do that, and to the degree that we can do that, then we will not have to fall under the power of our anger. We have to not fall under the power of our attachment, not fall under the power of our confusion. And so, of course, we are all ordinary beings here. And because we're ordinary beings, we have all of these things. We have anger, we have attachment, we have confusion. That's natural. But if we can reduce these, that's a real tangible benefit. It's a temporary benefit right now in our life, and it leads to ultimate benefits as well. So this is something that we can really think about and consider.
So then 다다린 바지 추서대 심적으로 얘네들도 zamala 다 지단계 가슴어마 아니 최저가리 근리선 거리선서 아니 니게 다케 남바게 아니 룩소 가레임바 아니 다가랑 신게 도당 칸데임바 양 가르라고 그래도 스스게 지당당 아니 년당 가레나 당나이 가양식이 말아 이 맛이도 잠발라 아니 니 담기메 아니 캐남바기랑 담으로 제슈임바 아니 담메 걸을 송샤 아니 마페 하장가오 좀 간스는 디디 쪼다 안서 타도기 대화 담바 터베기 규지 차도요래 성장하라 하장가오 좀 아니 캐남바기 저시딩은이 하사야 부담도 배가오 좀 아니 캐남바 뭐니기디 저시 담바낭신 아니 수승이래 초안랑라 타타 인예일라 배 뉴뉴뉴뉴지 마지 더더더지만 쉬어 마다이나양 강스스 셰바디 아니 냠린체에게 대화담 되니 계란 캔남바기 다 냠령어스 제도에게 아니 몰람답기 요스 with some good less
Less. 229. Less. So I know that our time is pretty much over, so we'll kind of wrap things up. And of course, I don't know all of you in the sense of like, I don't know what you believe. I don't know what religious tradition you're part of. I don't know what practices you do. I don't know what your understandings are or not. So not knowing any of that, I was invited to teach. And so we came upon this topic, what do you teach when you don't know what people, where they're at? And so I chose to teach on this topic of the absence of a concrete sense of self. And it makes me very happy to share this topic. So it was really enjoyable to talk about this. And I know that you have listened very well and comported yourself very well for this discussion. So I really appreciate that. I want to thank you. And I sincerely hope that like you've listened well, that you will bring these ideas into your daily life and apply them. And so I know this is not easy, but I really make that aspiration. And I only was able to say just a tiny little bit about this topic, a very like brief sort of summary or overview of this topic of the absence of sense of self. But even that, you know, what I've been able to share and what you know also within yourself, I hope that you can bring that into your daily life, apply that in your own mind and in your own life, so that I really hold that sincere aspiration. So thank you.
ဒီနေ့ကနံပါတ်လေးကျနံပါတ်3မှာရတာလာချက်ချက်ကြီးခေါကပ်ဆောင်လို့တင်တူနံပါတ်လာနိညင်သာဘနေသူကျနာအနိလာဘတ်တတဒီလာချင်းညင်ကဖေကဆာမလာနိသူကျနာအနိကနံပါတ်ကြီးရပ်ပြောနာဟာကြံကပဲချုံအနိဆာမလာသူကျနာ
So I also wanted to really thank the organizers of this event and this group for inviting me to teach. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And also, especially, all of you who came to listen and share this time together. So I want to thank you all very, very much.
Thank you so much, KhenmoLa. That was such a beautiful teaching. Thank you. Thank you. You did a very excellent job teaching emptiness in 45 minutes. Amazing. Would you mind, KhenmoLa, would we be able to receive 2 questions today? One in English, in Spanish? Is that okay for you?
Okay.
So everybody, if you, whomever has a question, I know that we have a lot of people, but if you want to write your question in the chat here, we'll take one in English, one in Spanish. And if there's a lot of questions, then maybe we'll request another session to do question and answers one day. So please go ahead and write what you have here, and we will accept 2, and we'll do our best to answer the rest another moment. So we have one in Spanish. So Adam, I'll say it to you. And then you can say this one in Tibetan. So if there is no I, then who becomes enlightened?
Jiwa hajan ya patos nina yang dag ne labda zambala penan derma tongba nang chine labyo mares thayi nye gong la khona bal shure gyugen tende la tene chue chokwa la tene yores ina yang khurang ni ngo teng la do ba de yo mares tidu zambala gyugen tende la chue yo ba gi dag de ani dikpa thamje pang gewa du dagzin pang dagme di to pa ina sangye go ba thogeres semje go mares leso tender re kaisana tender di tongi re mi din zo gi tongi la dang derma tong ba na chin samlo tang gi to wa din ju mare gyugen ge chokwa la dene chore pendang an so la nik na lakpa kangba changma dene nga la e to wa dida chikpa res gyugen tender mangbu jila tene nga yores Oh, de dagzin pangni dagme de tawena ani sange go ma thogeres. What is rana? Las.
So this is a really good question. And so when we say that there's an absence of a concrete sense of self, then this doesn't mean like dharma tongbasana
Tongba. Plate, empty plate. Dindo mare. Tongba la dindo mare.
Oh yeah. So that doesn't mean like an empty plate, just absence of something on a plate. It does not mean that. So rather it means things are interdependent, and because of a gathering of conditions, they appear, but in the gathering of conditions and their appearance, there is no independent essence also. So that's the sort of the case with the self. It just appears because of interdependence, the sense of self, because of different causes and conditions. but doesn't truly exist. And so that self that doesn't truly exist can engage in virtue, can avoid harming others, can realize the absence of the concrete sense of self and give up its self-cherishing and grasping and attain awakening. So you don't have to worry about that, because that is possible. So interdependence is emptiness. That needs to be known. So when we hear emptiness, we think it's like an empty plate with nothing on it. That's not what it means. It means that things only appear because of causes and conditions interdependently. And so that's why the sense of self appears. Causes and conditions come together. And so if we give up our self-cherishing and realize the absence of concrete sense of self, then Buddhahood can be attained.
Thank you so much, KhenmoLa. We have one space for one more question. If there's no English, then we're going to take another Spanish one. Okay, go for it, Jefe. Do you want to write it, or you can say it?
I'll say it and we can go from there. So is the realization of the absence of self, is that like the embodiment of it? I understand it conceptually, but I guess what I would like to know is the dissolution of self as an embodied feeling. Is that a very subtle evolution, or is that immediate? And what does it feel like essentially? Does that make sense?
KhenMoLa. Kongchuasana ani da de dagme sayadi ani o ti kechape tramo rebe nyong ngane di dagme ra nyong adi et kecha tramo inanda yamena lamsang totoya yamena ngaso kale nyonga gitsuri ani tramo charu jogorimina ra di chua di java ngane di dagme gi tsorwak
Las. Ade daye gong la nye shiwa nangshin re. Zo de susu nyung tsorge tone sheba ina. Ani pe me se yakpa yori. Go tsuya yakpa yori. Ade mado ta sange dindro songba re la. Ani susu ge takche. Cheba kyuni ma cheba ina. Ani hajange karla gore. Go tsuya la ting sabo. Chama chado birwa. Ta kesi susu ge nyung tsorge tone cheba ina. Ani 다 디스스스스게 왕볼라 다이리 카실로 왕보 랍요레 카실로 딩요레 카실로 타요라 데스스스 레당 박자 요미 딜라 삼로 거는데 소소 박자요나 람상셰기레 근데 참어지 말에 데다 강살라 땡고리 다 강사 왕보라든 다 간데 이메나 딜라드니 카실로 레라고 차기레 람상 또도게레 송상 제주미라 리모제 된저 체직로 제라 상게고 반타오라 다양 가시 엉버타마 딩다오요나 뭐니 사포레 참어레 데 고츠엘라 데시 도저저고 도기르라 아니 다 사마시나 디요나 미나간 소이나 양께와 가시지 소사 디자 치나마도 용고마레 셰츠르요와 디디양 켄남발다 슈나 디요나 미나게 셰마서와 소디디레 다 엉버랍딘 타말 동고리에스 아니 락바도니 소소게 안녕 설계더니 제바예나 아니 제바체라니 데 왕보다 바비도니 가실란 레라버레 아니 가실란이 만에 사포레 띵사포레 고츠엘라 띠츠 람상 고츠엘라 칼카보레
rela lasula
라슬라스
Yes. So good question. So to talk about this in terms of how each of us might experience these teachings. So so it's really good to understand this based on our own experience, rather than just taking something like, oh, the Buddha said like that, but I haven't really looked into it myself, haven't actually explored it myself. So if we do it that way, we won't really come to a very good understanding. But if we base it on our own experience and our own investigation, we can come to a very good understanding. Yeah, it can be very profound. And when we talk about like our own experience of this, the way it can be experienced, honestly, it comes down to one's own faculties or capacity. And so it is said in the teachings that there are different faculties or capacities. You might even say like spiritual acumen. And so there are those of like very sharp spiritual acumen. And then there are those with more normal or middling spiritual acumen. And then there are those with more basic capacities in this regard. And this is said to be just a result of our own karmas and imprints from past lives. And so because of that, some will come to understand this very easily. So an example of someone of the very high spiritual acumen is like Jetsun Milarepa, who is able in one body and in one lifetime to traverse the entire path all the way to complete and full Buddhahood. So there's that. And then, if one is not like that, then, let's say one is of the middling spiritual capacity, then this would be a very profound topic, a very subtle and profound matter that one would have to look into. So that may be like that. And then, and it would take some time. And then it is also said that for many of us, we're talking about multiple lifetimes of practice, where we have to purify our obscurations and gather accumulations. And so I don't know what faculties all of you have. I cannot see that. So perhaps you have the highest faculties or middling or more basic. But basically, one's own experience of dealing with this, of relating to this teaching, depends on one's capacities or faculties. And so for some, this will be a very profound and subtle issue. For some, it would be very difficult to quickly realize such a topic. So it's kind of like that.
지단기 당메디다 배 사포리 하이세나 당메 똑사나 릭사리다 하죠. 당메 똑사나 아닌 대화 담바 다 상교가 완전 터비오레 숨벼라 티도 잠발라 네가디 가리라나 기포트 라이라다 지치조디 당메 또야라 하징기 사포이 바디 아니 간서기 딜라 삼라다니 야 시고리다 캥고라 디레
So, but in general, we can say that this topic is very profound. This is a very profound topic. The absence of a concrete identity is a very profound thing. I mean, if we really get that, if we really realize that absence, and this is sublime happiness and bliss, this is like awakening. This is akin to achieving awakening. So it's something we need to understand and know, that in general, this topic of the absence of self, the absence of concrete identity, is very profound. We should know that.
Thank you so much, KhenmoLa. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I have a question. I know we're
Okay.
done. I'm sorry.
That's great.
In the beginning, you said that things don't exist as it doesn't exist as an independent thing, but it also doesn't exist depending on something else. And so I wanted to, but then we're speaking about emptiness is dependent origination. So I wanted to ask, are you saying that it also doesn't exist depending on something else because it doesn't depend on one thing. It depends on many causes and conditions. Are you saying because existence doesn't, everything is so fluid and changing, it's not even existing in a concrete way at all? I just wanted to understand that sentence in the beginning. So you said things don't exist as an independent thing, and they also don't exist depending on something else. Did you understand that?
Kensoye?
개결제 나오나 개결제 나오나 가시에 거 처마스.
Oh, last
Understood in
Yes.
English?
Yes.
So morangi truasana ani digi kachugi ra
Yes.
ani KhenmoLa shenla like chata tenjare ya tathon da di dendrup yomares da istaya di ra ni judan chen zomba latene yamena tendril latene ra sharwa ineya di di ya ani ngane da dendrup ya yomares son chesamarang ni tendril ene yimbadan ineya ngusu mon evadi
Oh, ni hakosta. Dere mogi tendril di ani dendrup rimba musin chena dhiyo mari. Tendril di ani karisanlana gyugenge chokbala deni chungba songzang tendril re, dendrup mare. Dembar dhuba yogo na kare yogo re labayina chomin yogo re. Chomin lana kensayin zunga mayin bachi. Korang-korangi nguogang la dhubde bachi. Shen la mato bachi. Gyugen shen la mato bachi. Korang-korang nguogang la doks dhuba. Pena nga zoi subu kare pamani la ten, kala la ten, ani kangba la ten, magbo la ten nga zoi subu dhuyora. Dinzo changma la ma ten ne thangbo na nga zoi subu doks la dhubi yore be. Yo marwa. So zan tendel di dindu mare. Ina yang tendel la tene nga yore. Tendel la tene chumegi nga di ani nge ngowe teng la dhubi nga rebe la na mare. Tuda namba kundu dindu la tsigiyo mare. Yambar dhubi kowa kayang mes sukne namkingi par lagira. Magi sukne agi sangye ko pa pardo yambar dhubi kowa kayang mes ngiro dere. Ta labdu zambala morangi tendel di dindu imba di kwa lina ani norbares. Gochisa.
Lasso, posso.
Ke tangbo deji ke gyur cheba yang nye tene yang shego ni shego.
Okay, lasso.
Las.
So, pitche mangcho. Gosu yure.
Las. Kachana.
Gacha. Jachu.
Las yabuto.
So, I think I understand the question, and basically around interdependence and true existence. So, if something is if something is interdependent or relies on causes and conditions to appear, which everything does, then that thing also cannot be said to have true independent existence. So what is a product of interdependence? What is interdependence lacks concrete independent existence. Because for it to exist concretely and independently, it needs to be like unfabricated. It needs to be have no falseness to it. It shouldn't rely on causes and conditions, but everything relies on causes and conditions and lacks that concrete independent essence. So let's just take our own body as an example. This body we have, it appears because of our mother and father. It also appears and survives because of food, and also because of a place to live, and many, many other factors. It's not that the body just suddenly appears out of nothing. That's not how it works. It only appears and continues to appear because of these causes and conditions. And so when we explore it in that way, it doesn't independently exist apart from those causes and conditions. And so the sense of self is like that too. Based on causes and conditions, there's a sense of self. But because it only appears because of those causes and conditions, it lacks its own independent reality. Everything lacks that. It is said from coarse physical matter all the way to the phenomena of omniscience and everything in between. There is no concrete, true existence in anything. That's what it says in the teachings. So I think the key point here is because things are a product of interdependence, they lack their own concrete, true existence.
그래서 저한테 아파도 나봐도 시럽 넘버 여살이 아파도 아니요 저 데이터들이 텐들디 덴바 말에 덴바 두바요나 랑 뭐가 두고레스 다디니디 에바 치셔바요나 아니 데네가서 덴두레 말에 나오게 되게 덕바 사야돼 아니 셀토에게 개변이레스
So this is a really good question.
Hello, Mom, party.
Really good question.
Sorry.
And a lot of wisdom, I think, present behind this question. So basically, the key point is if things are interdependent, then they are not concrete, reified, and truly existent. And so it is important to see that. And so otherwise, we will continue to doubt are things truly real or are they not real? So then we can continue to doubt that.
저기 잠링 낭랑 저기 그랑이 뭐에도 뭐보지 도미도 제바 지나되거라 당번에라 독스라네 중요진 도미도 계시 딘도 요나 아니 딘도 레스 계시 딘도 큐네 메바 찍찍 망보 저라기긴 망보 저때니 도요나 다디 뎀바 마레스 어디디 에바 치셔버 소소소소 에바 치셔버이나 되네 딘델당 딘도 레디 딱딱하고 송선 처담제 뎀브라 만도발라니 타이 공라니게 스트림바 켄남발라 디도 잠발라 코랑코랑 오가가르 디베초 카야요 마레 ngazo khangba mare ngaranzo mi yang kurang 당번에 독슬라니 두요 마레 미도 양 kurang 라데니 두요 마레 참마 신가다 사당 쉐당 다 직직망 부지 척바 리겐 척바 망보일 된 두요라 딘도 유모보 요레 다디 딘도 레벨라나 마레 딘도 마임바 kurang 오가 땡라 두요 뭐 도미도 ngazo 수수 제바 제바이나 하고 그래 다 딘도 요 마레 성장 Sukne namkenge bhagyo ngobo demara madova lai gimchen so dire. Kensen. Kensen. Yeah. Las.
So we can look at things in the world, look at anything in the world, and examine it, use our own faculty of analysis and exploration, and say, did this thing, whatever thing in this world, suddenly appear nothing on its own as a truly existing thing, or did it appear because of a web of conditionality and interdependence? So we can explore in that way, and then we can make we can start to see the distinction between the principle of interdependence and the principle of concrete true existence. And we need to make that distinction. We need to understand the difference between interdependence and concrete true existence. That's a distinction we have to make. And then we can look at anything. We can look at a house. We can look at a flower. We can look at a field. We can look at earth. We can look at water. Anything in this world. Did it suddenly appear on its own out of nothing? Independent, or did it appear because of a gathering of causes and conditions? And so then when we look at it in that way, we can see that its essence is not truly existing on its own because of that interdependence. So this is something we can analyze for ourselves, and we can come to understand for ourselves. And that is why we come to the conclusion that from the coarsest physical matter all the way to the phenomena of omniscience, there is no concrete, true, independent existence. That is what it means to arrive at that conclusion.
Thank you so much, KhenmoLa. Muchas gracias. Thank you so much, Adam, for your beautiful translation. And we thank you, all of you participants, for being here tonight. I'm sorry we couldn't get to every question, but we will make sure that we pass these on and see if we can also do some follow-up. And yeah, thank you so much, KhenmoLa, for helping us to understand more about the absence of I, and it helps to bring into perspective why we've been learning so much about bodhicitta. There's the wisdom of emptiness, and its partner is bodhicitta. And so the more that we can continue to practice this love and compassion and continue to reflect on this wisdom that KhenmoLa is sharing with us, little by little, we can really start to see impacts in our life right now. Really decreasing, like KhenmoLa said, decreasing the afflictions and decreasing the negative experiences in our life and that of others, and little by little begin to awaken our true potential and our Buddha nature. So again, we thank you so much, KhenmoLa. Thank you so much, Adam. Thank you, Jeffrey. And thank you, each of you, for being here. I know if any of you haven't looked at the link yet, I placed a link there in the chat if you feel called to utilize that today. Also, no pressure if you do not. And yeah, again, we thank you so much. KhenmoLa, would you like to lead us in the closing prayer? Would you dedication prayer?
Yeah. Okay. Okay, thank you everyone, special organizers and translators. Thank you from bottom of my heart. Okay. Chanjo semjo rimbo je maje banam ge gyuro je gewa nyamba niba yang gong ne gong do te war shu dadang ko de tham je to sum do sapa yebe giwe zawa de dada simje tham je ni do lana me ba yang da war zo chanjo rimbo je to war yu ji. Thank you everyone. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, KhenmoLa.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you.
Thank you.
They're all muted today, so they can't say goodbye, but they're all saying goodbye, and thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Khenmo. Thank you, everybody.
Welcome. You're
See
welcome.
you.
Have a good night. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias. Buenas noches.